Hey everyone, it is your girl Remy, and welcome back to another season of Self Centered. I am super excited to be kicking off season 2 with this episode because today I'm going to dive into a topic that's super close to my heart. What I wish I knew when I graduated undergrad. If you are graduating undergrad or you're just starting out in the real world after graduating about a couple months ago, and you're trying to figure out what your next steps are, this is really an episode for you. It's been a while since I graduated back in 2019, but I've learned so much since walking across that stage. And I've lived a lot of life then. And I do want to share some really important insights to me that I think would have saved me a lot of stress, time, and money. So, when I graduated, I thought I had to have everything figured out immediately, and I did not, as I've spoken about before. But that's okay. Some of the things that I wish I had known coming out of undergrad was networking is everything. When I first started out, I was looking for a job, and I think a lot of students share this sentiment. When you're on the job market coming out of undergrad, you just want to land somewhere. So you're applying to any and everything, whether you're a good fit or not, whether you think you'll like it or not. And you're sending your resume and your cover letter into essentially a black hole of an application portal and hoping that it gets past the bots that read it. But in reality, networking, building genuine relationships will get you much further than any LinkedIn application will. And so, what is networking? I think there are a lot of definitions out there of what it is and how to do it successfully. But I think networking is really building out your professional kind of community. So, who do you know that can give you advice on different career paths in your degree? Because honestly, when you graduate, you know a little about a lot, but not a lot about certain things. And depending on your discipline, that can either work for you or work against you. As an engineer, it is always great to have had experience in a lot of different things, but ultimately, if you're looking to break into the life sciences, you do need to have some depth to your knowledge and skill set. And so that is something that you can find out the hard way by kind of barreling through trying to get your foot in the door, or if you have someone in your network that can kind of give you the inside scoop from someone that's experienced it, worked in that field for a long time, that'll save you a lot of time and energy and can help inform some of your next steps in your career. So it's not just about getting a job, it's about getting informed. Just because you land somewhere, your first job isn't going to define your career. So if it's a job that you hate, okay, fine, whatever. It's a stepping stone. You gain experience. But learning from the people around you can help you make better steps. So you're not finding yourself in a job just so that you have a job. Additionally, networking teaches you how to talk about yourself and what you know. So, something that's going to become very important throughout your career is understanding how to communicate what you know with other people, whether they're in the same discipline as you, or maybe they're in a different discipline and you have to communicate something very technical with them. Or maybe you're talking to a lay audience and you need to be able to communicate something technical to them. Networking teaches you how to talk about yourself in a way that's accessible to other people. And that's a really important skill to have, not just for getting a job, but for anything that you do in life. So, one of the things that you learn how to do when you are networking, building out that elevator pitch. How can I tell you, my audience, who I am, what I do well, and what I'm looking to do in a short time frame? Now, I think the general framework that people learn about an elevator pitch in is you learn to say, my name is this, I'm an expert in this, and this is what I'm looking for. And when you practice it so much, it can feel a little robotic, and that's not what you want to go for. You want to be able to talk about yourself in a way that flows seamlessly in natural conversation. So that way you don't go to the career fair and just kind of word vomit all of the things that you've rehearsed 20 times in the mirror to some poor recruiter and then hope that the conversation flows from there. So, networking doesn't have to be this kind of showboating experience where you're bragging about your credentials and somebody else is bragging about their credentials and you're not really listening to each other. Networking, for me, in my experience, the best, the most fruitful interactions have always been an exchange where I'm learning from the other person and the other person is learning from me. And don't be afraid to teach people things. Again, yes, you are new to this, but there are things that you have to offer. So, networking is a chance for you to kind of showcase what you have to offer and let people around you know, like, oh, this person's really great with coding or they're really good at cell culture. So, networking teaches you a lot about yourself. Now, for the people that are sitting there thinking to themselves, I hate talking about myself. I'm an introvert. I don't like speaking with people. I get it. As an ambivert, typically walking up to people and talking about my expertise is not the first thing that I want to do. But I think being comfortable sharing who you are and learning the settings that are most comfortable for you are great ways to get yourself starting to network because it is a critical skill. It's not just for getting your foot in the door, it's how you're going to navigate looking for promotions, looking for subsequent jobs that you're going to want. And sometimes it's not even in a professional sense, it's in your personal life. We do networking all the time. So, making friends with people, um, to an extent, dating, if you will. But networking is a really important skill. It takes you very far, not only in your professional life, but everywhere. So, even though it can be scary, learning how to do it a little bit, knowing how to carry a conversation that's somewhat pleasant but purposeful and building genuine connections is going to take you really far in your career. So, I would say a good place to start if you're kind of uncomfortable are those career fairs at your school. The reason why they're great is because the recruiters that are there are looking to hire students and they're looking to hire students from your school. So it takes a little pressure off of the interaction so you don't have to worry, are they actually looking to hire someone? Now the only thing that you need to understand is what are they looking for in a candidate and do I have that to offer? So a good example is if you know that your expertise is in the life sciences and you don't do much of coding, don't walk up to the software engineering companies because that will be a bit of a wasted interaction. But maybe you do have some interest there, and maybe those software engineering companies do have some life science aspect to them. So maybe it is a place that you can kind of get your feet wet, but starting in a place that feels a little more comfortable. If you're life sciences, start with the life science companies and kind of branch out from there. The next piece is doing your research on those companies and knowing what they do. So walking up to a company, or if you're looking at grad schools, walking up to a grad school and being like, okay, so what do you guys do? Is a bit of an awkward way to start the conversation because now the recruiter's telling you what they do and you're not getting to show them how you fit into their company. Again, most of these interactions are going to happen within the span of 5 to 10 minutes. So you do want to make the best use of your time. So that's the first thing. The second thing is understanding not only what the company does, but how you fit into the broader scope of the company's goals, values, and what they're trying to do. That way you can make a case for why you belong there. I think things become awkward when you approach a recruiter or anybody at a career fair or in any networking situation and there's no intentionality behind the conversation. You're just talking just to talk. that feels very awkward to people and can quickly make the conversation fizzle out before you've even made any headway in forging that connection. So don't just walk up to people because their title sounds cool or they have a really cool banner on their LinkedIn or you think that they're going to help you land your dream job. Build genuine connections and try to learn from people. You have 2 ears, 1 mouth. Use them accordingly. Always be listening, always be learning. Networking is a great way to be a continuous learner. Thinking about networking and all the lessons that I've learned there, I would say the next thing that I wish I knew when I was graduating was documentation is crucial for you in all aspects of your career and even some parts of your daily life. When you are entering the workforce or even grad school, documentation is going to be crucial. One of the first things I learned when working in industry was if it wasn't documented, it did not happen. And that can be a good or a bad thing depending on how you look at it. But I think the lesson there is we can't just take your word for it. You need to have some sort of proof of the experiment that you ran. That way it can be referred to later on. Now, this is more than just practical use of, okay, did you do this experiment? Yes, I wrote it down. This is now starting to think a little more globally about the things that you do every day and where you want your career to go. So this is a little more forward thinking. Documentation is crucial because no one else is going to be your biggest cheerleader. In your career, it has to be you. So when you go into your meetings with your manager, supervisor, PI, whoever it is, you need to be able to say what you did, what you were successful at, maybe what you weren't successful at, and champion yourself towards the next goal, the next level. If you're not documenting it, then no one knows that it happened. Documentation goes hand in hand with communication. So as you learn to talk about yourself through skills like networking, you need a way to document all of your accomplishments. LinkedIn is a great way to do that. When you publish papers, when you gain a new achievement, a lot of people love posting those certificates that they get from their jobs and things like that. It's a great way to not only publicize it to other people, but to do serious record keeping and be very meticulous about it. Because, again, all of those wins, while they may be very personal to you and you're really excited about it and you're probably saying, well, of course my boss knows that I saved the company $1 million when I ran this experiment. Yes, your boss may remember it that day, but 3 months from now, when you're in a quarterly review or an annual review, no one remembers that. So documenting it and bringing it up time and time again will help you get to where you want to go. No one is going to be the person to say, oh, so what were your biggest accomplishments for the year? They're going to ask you to talk about those things. And you need to be able to look back at your own notes and say, oh, I had a really great year. I did this and I did this and I did that. And that led to all of these things. And this is how it helped the company. And this is what I want to do next. Without documenting those things, they get lost. Sometimes it's as simple as following up with your boss, your manager, PI, whoever, after a meeting with a quick email saying, hey, thanks for meeting with me. Glad to have discussed this. This is what I'm going to be working on in the next couple of weeks. Did I miss anything? And sometimes your boss may not even respond. And if they do respond, they might say something along the lines of received, or they might just like the message, but at least it's documented. This is going to be important because as you develop goals and work through them, you want to show that you're hitting milestones. So documenting it electronically so it's time-stamped is always a way to go. If you're a graduate student, your lab notebook needs to be a sacred text. It needs to have the details of all of your experiments, everything you did that day. Record everything. Because something that seems insignificant now could be the piece to your next manuscript in a couple of months. So it's not only record keeping for the sake of okay, this is what I did today. I want to remember what I did so I can do it again. But it's about acknowledging those accomplishments and also giving a space for all of your ideas. So sometimes you think of something and it sounds like it's a bad idea right now, but you look back on it 3 years, 3 months, 3 weeks from now, and you're like, wow, why didn't I do that? Maybe I need to kind of take a look at that again and see if that's something I want to pursue. No idea is a bad idea. Write them all down. Keep them all somewhere that you can take a look back at them. Write down your goals. Where do you want to be in 2 months, 2 years? All of that seems very insignificant, and it seems like something that your brain can hold on to for a long time, but that's just simply not the case. I like to say memory fails, but documentation does not. Your documentation will always tell the truth of whatever you wrote back then, it's set in stone. So write things down. Write down your experiments, what you did, what the results were. Go step by step. I tell that I do it myself, and I also tell that to the students that I mentor. Write it down. Don't try to memorize things because your memory is going to fail. And it's okay to just keep things right by your side and write them down and refer to them back again. It's better to be 100% certain that about something that you had to refer back to than 50% certain that you are trying to recall from memory from 2 weeks ago. So, documentation, documentation, documentation. It is a gift that will keep on giving. It is a way for you to do record keeping of your ideas, of your experiments, hold yourself accountable, hold the people around you accountable, and a way to document your successes. And so that way you can talk about how great of a year you had to your manager and at your networking cocktail hours or whatever. So keep those two things in mind. I wish I took documentation and networking a lot more seriously when I first started out. Now that we've talked about documentation and networking, let's talk about rejection. Rejection is something that is not always easy to accept, but it is a part of life. Like, just being real, rejection stings. Whether it's a job that you wanted, a grad program that you really wanted to get into, or something else that's really personal, it's hard not to take rejection personally. But what I've learned is that rejection can be redirection. Sometimes you don't get the job that you think you want so bad because there's something else that is better ahead. I remember when I was in undergrad, I really wanted this job and I got so close. I got to the final round interview. I was on site. I was super excited, but I didn't get the job. And I know some people that currently work there, and they're like, yeah, this is miserable. We're overworked. We don't like it. And the person that I am today, even though, working long hours weekly doesn't necessarily bother me. I mean, hey, I'm in grad school. I don't think I would have been a good fit at that company. Now, of course, hindsight is 2020, so of course I wouldn't have been a good fit. Of course I can see that now. But I think it was truthfully a blessing in disguise. If I had gotten the job there, I don't think I would have worked in biotech and pharma, and I wouldn't have really pursued that for my doctorate. I think I probably would have just been okay with what I was doing and just kind of moved with that. So I think a lot of times rejection can feel really bad because it feels like, wow, maybe there was something wrong with me. But the truth is, it's not always about you. Some companies might have an internal hire in mind, and because they just have to post it, you get interviewed. Or sometimes they're looking for something that's kind of specific that has nothing to do with your particular skill set. So I wouldn't say that every no is a reflection of your worth. I would say you're going to get way more no's than yeses, but all you need is one yes. So don't worry about the no's too much. They're a part of the game. It's a numbers game. You're going to have to accept them. So don't worry about it too much. A lot of the times, it has nothing to do with you. It's just luck of the draw. But again, focusing on every no brings you closer to that yes that you want. And another way of looking at it, every no is an opportunity for you to gain more information. So sometimes you're applying for jobs and the company's like, hey, yeah, like you're a really good candidate, but we're going with someone else. Take that as an opportunity to ask, like, hey, like, was there anything in particular that I could have worked on that would have, kind of tipped the scales in my favor? And sometimes the recruiter will get back to you with like specific feedback that the hiring manager had, and sometimes they won't. But the opportunity to learn, asking for feedback, shows that you're a continuous learner and really reflects positively on you as a person. So, one, take the information for what it's worth, and you can use that and learn from it. And so, in your next opportunity, you can improve on that. And maybe they don't give you any feedback, and you're like, okay, well, that just wasn't the opportunity for me. It's hard, but I think some of the most difficult rejections led me to places that opened up opportunities for me that were really great for me. Now, in addition, no doesn't always mean no, never. Sometimes it means not yet. So there have been times where you apply for something once and you don't get it. So, for example, let's say you apply to a scholarship and you don't get it. Apply again. Let's say you apply to grad school, you don't get into your dream program. Apply again. There's nothing there's nothing to stop you from applying to your program again and again. Perseverance is key. Now, I'm not saying apply like 10 times in a row, but don't be afraid to try again. Give yourself another shot. Learn from the mistakes that you made in the past, and use that as fuel to drive your application going forward. And you never even know. Sometimes the hiring manager saw your application, said, yeah, you're not really a great fit for this role, but actually, I'm going to send your application to another department. And you apply there or you apply again, and they're like, oh, yeah, we do remember you were that really great candidate. And then they say yes. So every no brings you closer to the yes that you want. So don't be afraid of that. So, pivoting from rejection and on the same vein of making mistakes, don't be afraid to make mistakes. They are a crucial part of your learning. And I'm saying this as someone in engineering and the physical sciences. There's an emphasis in those areas of study to be perfect, to get the correct answer, the correct way. But truthfully, there is no right way to do it. There is no perfect approach to the correct answer. There are standard approaches, there are conventional approaches, but there's no one way to get to your destination. So I would encourage you to dive right in and make mistakes. Get your hands dirty on the work ahead. Don't be afraid to learn. When you are just starting out, there's also a fear of, okay, I don't want to make a mistake. I just got this job. I don't want to give them any reason to fire me. That's okay. Essentially, what you want to do is figure out a way to learn in an environment that facilitates that. Your job's going to give you trainings, so take the training seriously. Even when you're in grad school, you're going to be trained on how to operate in whatever works environment you are safely. So take your trainings seriously. Don't put yourself or others in harm's way. But recognize that you're going to make mistakes. Learn how to resolve your mistakes professionally and safely. Not every single thing that you do is going to come out perfect the first time. So learn from that. Whether it's you tried this new technique out and it fails miserably, and your experiment fails, so you have to do it again. I have accepted that, especially being in grad school, it's not going to work perfectly the first time. It's not like a standard operating procedure. There is no SOP for life. But you can make mistakes and you can develop your own SOPs for your own life. So dive right into the lab. Now, as a PhD student, I know that I'm going to do something once, maybe twice, maybe even 3 times before I get something down pat. And that's okay. There's so much learning to be had in making those mistakes that will make you into a better scientist, into a better engineer, into a better whatever. And those are the things that you're going to remember, where you're like, "Oh yeah, I need to make sure that I check all of my settings on the scope to make sure I actually save the images." Because sometimes you'll sit down, be imaging for an hour, and forget to press save. An hour's work gone. It's a mistake, it happens, but you've learned from it. So I bet you won't make that mistake again. Um, so leaning into the fact that things are not always going to go perfectly. You're going to do things, you're going to louse things up, and that's okay. But just roll with it. No one's expecting you to be perfect, especially this early on in your career. And I don't think there's ever going to be an expectation of perfection at any point in your career. So just go with it. Just do the best that you can, but own your mistakes. Integrity is going to be so crucial to who you are as a person and who you are known as professionally. So if you make a mistake, own it. Don't try to glaze over it. Don't try to shift blame to somebody else. Own the thing that you did, but learn from it. And also understand that there are going to be consequences. I understand that I'm telling you that you're going to make mistakes and to lean into that. But there's a certain level of responsibility that you have to be prepared to undertake when you do make mistakes. There are going to be consequences. If you do something that is unsafe or that was just irresponsible, there are going to be consequences that come with that. And you have to be ready to own those consequences in addition to the mistakes you make. It doesn't define you as a person. Just because you made a mistake doesn't make you a bad person or a bad employee. Another one that is near and dear to my heart is no one has all of the answers. In a world where we want to be perfect but we make mistakes, I think we as a society tend to look for some all-knowing guru who can tell us what exactly to do and how to do it, but that's just not how the world works. When you're in grad school, you tend to look at your PI as the person that is all-knowing. Your PI doesn't know. If anything, over the 4 or 5 years that you're in grad school, you actually become more of an expert. They, over time, will start learning from you. Their job as a principal investigator is to teach you to become one of them. Teach you how to conduct research in such a way that it is robust and trustworthy. So they're not always going to, like, sometimes you're going to work on something and you're going to be stuck and you're not going to know how to get out of it. The key is eventually you have to figure it out on your own. They're not always going to be able to say, oh, just do this, and do that. They're just going to you're going to have to tough it out, which isn't always the best feeling because we like to know that someone is there who knows, who can help us, who can bail us out of a situation. But that's just not how the world works. And when you are working, as much as you're learning from your superiors and your coworkers, they don't have all the answers either. No one does. So when you join the workforce, don't be afraid to put forth an idea. They hired you for a reason. They think that you're capable enough to do the job. They think that you're capable enough to grow within your role. Stand on that. So if you know something, speak up, because chances are somebody's waiting for you to give the $1 million idea. So do it. Don't be afraid. And even if you're wrong, maybe that spurs somebody else to have an idea that gets us out of the no good situation that we're in. No one knows everything, but we all know a little bit of something. So it's okay to not have the right answer all the time. It's okay to say, I don't know. But if you do know something, stand on it. And don't expect everyone else to just know the things that you need to know. Sometimes it will require you to do some thinking on your own, some outside research, some digging into the problem before you get to that final answer. After I graduated, I felt like I had to have my entire life figured out: career, finances, relationships, all of it. But again, just like in a professional setting or an academic setting, nobody has it all together. In a way, we are all faking it till we make it. We're all figuring it out as we go. So it's okay to not know. And you don't need to have your 5 year plan, box, checklist, whatever, to be successful. It's great to have goals, but life teaches you that you need to have flexibility as well. Opportunities are going to pop up, your interests are going to change, and sometimes life just lifes, and you go in a direction that you weren't even expecting. So, being able to be flexible and adaptable to situations is another huge skill that you need to have, not only professionally, academically, but just in your life, so that you don't get stuck because things don't run the way that you expected them to. Learning from other people is important, but it's also okay to trust yourself. It's okay to trust your own instincts. And I'm not saying don't ask for advice. Anyone who knows me knows that mentors have had a huge impact on my life. But just because someone is older and more experienced, it doesn't mean that they have all of the answers. Sometimes a situation is so unique to you that only you know how to truthfully navigate it in a way that is still representative of what you want and true to yourself. So sometimes you do have to just trust your own instincts and go off of what you think makes sense. And it's okay. Maybe it's not the path ahead where you trust your instincts is difficult, but that's okay. You don't have to worry necessarily about, oh, well, if this doesn't work out, like, what happens next? Sometimes you just got to roll with it. And I think that trusting your instincts, understanding what you want and what you're looking for with a bit of flexibility allows you to be successful. It builds up a resilience in you that carries you further in your life. And finally, one of the most important things, if not the most important thing, is understanding the money. It's more, and when I say that, it's more than just your salary. It's more than your stock options. It's more than your stipend. Understanding how money works in whatever stage of life you're in is crucial. And I can speak to this from two angles. In a professional setting, I'll tell you about my job offer. When I first got my job offer, I looked at the offer letter and I was like, okay, we cooking with grease. I got a little, I'm seeing a comma on the paycheck. Okay. But I didn't truthfully understand the entire compensation package. So here's some things that I wish I had known on the industry side of things. Your benefits matter just as much as that number on the paycheck. Things like your health insurance, 401k matching, paid time off, and bonuses can add so much more value to your package. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you take a lower salary with great benefits. It's all about balance, right? You obviously have to pay rent, maybe a car note, electricity, all of those basic needs. You have to be able to afford those things. But you also have to know your worth. So there's so much that goes into it, and understanding each component of your compensation package will help you to make a more informed decision, so you're not just going after the highest number, because sometimes that doesn't really mean anything. And I think a lot of people think that I have to negotiate this offer. I have to get the most that I can out of them. Understand what your value is in the market and what companies are willing to pay you at your experience and knowledge level. Don't just negotiate because you want to see if they'll give you more money. Like that's not a good policy to run yourself by. But of course, don't just accept anything. Like, if you think that there is room for improvement, or maybe you have a better offer from another company, but you like this company more, those are opportunities for you to kind of see if there's wiggle room at the company that you really, really like. So that's what I would say for the industry side of things. In academia, it is a little more hairy, but it's, I would say, almost even more crucial that you understand the compensation and just the money of academia. This one's a little more involved. So, as a PhD student in bioengineering, there is what is referred to as funding. It's not necessarily compensation the same way that you would think of it in industry, but there is quite a bit of overlap. So starting off with funding for you as the student, there is funding for your stipend, so how much you get paid. And then there's funding for your tuition. Are you going to be on a scholarship? Are you going to be expected to pay tuition? There is funding for your things like health insurance. Some schools might offer 401ks, but I don't know too many schools that actually do that. But it depends on what your title is. Whether you're a TA, whether you're a postdoc, whether you're a graduate student researcher, whether you're a trainee on a training grant, understanding what comes with those territories is so important, so that you understand what benefits are available to you. The other side of funding for you, the student, is funding for your work. Now, this usually comes by way of your PI. So that's kind of the $1 million question when you're getting recruited that everybody wants to know. So what's the funding like? So if you're in the life sciences, the funding information is technically publicly available. It's posted on the internet. So if you're in like bioengineering or chemical engineering, or you just receive money through the NIH, they post the active grants on their website. So you could just search up NIH current grants or whatever, and their website will pop up, and you can search any faculty member on there, or not a faculty member, but any researcher on there, to see if they're on any current grants. The reason why I say, tread carefully with that tool, some of those grants on there they might be co-investigators on, or they might not even get money from those grants. So again, tread carefully. But the point of the matter is, when you are a grad student, a lot of the time faculty will tell you, oh, don't worry about funding. Like, that's our job to worry about securing funding. But that knowledge is powerful for you to have. The reason being is it gives you a sense of what the work environment will be like. And I think it goes The same way for industry, too. If you're working at a large company that has a lot of funds for your work, you're going to be a little more relaxed and you'll be able to kind of understand how to plan your experiments. You'll understand the likelihood of, okay, am I going to get laid off, for instance, because the company's hemorrhaging money. The same goes for academia. If you are working with someone, an advisor or a set of co advisors, and funding is running low, that can heavily impact the experiments that you are able to run versus the experiments you want to run. And grants can come through at any moment in time. And the thought is that faculty will be transparent with you. But if you don't understand the difference between funding for me, the student, like who pays my tuition and stipend, versus funding for the work that I'm going to have to do, who's going to pay for the gloves that I wear in lab, it's easy as a student to get confused. And especially if you're first gen, all of these things are confusing. And I think there's a lot of assumptions that you just already know this. And so I'm here to say that it's okay if you don't know it, but you do need to understand it. Take some time to really understand, okay, I'm heading into grad school. I know I want to work for such and such a person. Does this project already have funding? Or is it something where I'm going to have to start from scratch and build this project up and hopefully receive funding at some point in time? If you're a grad student, that can put you in a state of limbo. Sometimes you find yourself in a situation where you're like, I'm working with nothing, but I'm super close to a breakthrough. So I got to stay here until things make a shift. Or sometimes you're like, I don't have funding. I've heard stories about grad students whose labs ran out of funding and they just kind of had to up and graduate, which no one really likes that either, right? But again, those lessons of flexibility, adaptability, the ability to plan, but being open to changes in your path will help you. So, post-grad life is quite a journey. It's not a straight path. But if you take anything away from this episode, let it be this. Understand everything that comes with a job offer, that comes with attending grad school. Understand the money of your business. It will help you make informed decisions. Rejection, not the end of the road. It's just a detour that's leading you somewhere else. Your journey is not going to be linear, so enjoy the ride. Nobody has all the answers, so don't pressure yourself into having everything figured out. Document your wins and your losses. And network. Sometimes it's not what you know, but who you know. So don't be afraid to go out there and forge genuine connections. And I'd love to hear from you. What are some of the things that you all wish you knew when you graduated? Tell me about it all in the comments. Thanks again for hanging out with me today. Be sure to follow on All Things Self-Centered RR on Instagram and TikTok and Spotify. And until next time, take care of yourself and keep growing. Bye.